Hey everyone, Starshine here. Welcome to this 4-island game of the King of Catan Nations Cup. Let's check this out. The King of Catan Nations Cup is a really interesting thing, where many of the King of Catan members play together in teams and hope to clash the other teams. It is something that makes really much fun and I really enjoy doing. Alright, but focusing on the game now. I think we have a really interesting board with the 8-9 being a crazy wheat spot, and I'm really surprised that this spot was still open for Luki. On the other hand, Soren also got an amazing 5-6-10 spot which features sheep and wheat. Me on the other hand, I am playing completely wheatless, which is something I don't really like. I'm really surprised by Soren's pick 2-9 there. It is really low production, but on the other hand, there aren't any other good spots on the board left, so... With a 7 being rolled immediately, of course the 6 is getting blocked. But I am at least not getting robbed, which is something. We roll a crazy 11 already, which is really great for Luki, just because he has the paired 11s. With a 6 being rolled, some ore is finally distributed, and the 2 coming also very handy for Soren, who will probably build a city kinda soon if we start rolling some 10s. With a 7, the 5 is being blocked, which is not really bad for me. Based on the setups, I really think that Luki might have the best setup, just because he has the best ore tile on the board, together with 2 great wheat spots. Also, the wheat and the brick port may be very valuable for him in this game. With another 7, of course the 6 is getting blocked again, and unfortunately I get robbed and I lose my only brick in my hand. 10 is also super bad for me just because I'm not on it yet. On the other hand, there is some wheat in the game finally, which might help me to get an easy trade. Rayour then tries to get the first death card in the game. After the death card, then we finally see the first city of the game on the 8-9-11. But also, Soren isn't following Luki kinda soon with placing down an amazing city on the 6-5-10, which puts both of them in a really strong position just because those spots are really great production. I of course try to get a great deal in this turn because Luki offers a wheat. I also get a pretty cheap deal in my opinion for only a wood. This of course helps me a lot, just to settling on the 10. Soren is in the meantime trying to go for the island on the 5-11, which would give him 2 more extra points. Unfortunately, we also roll a 10 just before I build on it. With an 8, Luki then gets more rare wheat, which is very valuable for some good trades. With another 7, the 5 is being blocked again, but I will definitely not complain about that. Luki then decides to place down a settlement on the 4-10, which is also a great spot because the 4 now is giving him a free card and really balances his production. Soren also offers me a great combo of cards for a brick, which comes really handy for me considering that the 9 did roll kinda often. Rayour then plays a 9 card, which puts him in the lead for the largest army. He also tries to get another brick, which gives me another very valuable trade. Rayour also had a settlement in hand, but he decided to go for one more road and place down the settlement on the 3-10. Luki then cities up, and I unfortunately 7 out, which really hurts me a lot, because I have to discard valuable cards. The block from Soren is of course the 6 ore again, unfortunately. But at least Luki is the very big target at this point, so I don't really lose any cards. With a 4, Luki also gets some very valuable brick for him, just because he has the brick port on the top. 1-6 being blocked and another 12 followed, Soren has 9 cards in his hand, and starts to chase for the largest army. With 2 more 6s rolling and 2 more 6s being blocked, Soren again has a lot of cards in hand, but he has also a Year of Plenty, which allows him to settle finally on the 5-11, which gives him 3 points in total. Soren can also even afford another death card, which makes him look really strong. At this point of the match, I really think that Rayour and I am a bit behind the other 2 guys, just because we don't have the production, and I also don't have any death cards. Soren again buys more death cards on his turn, and with another 4, Luki also gets some valuable cards again for him. With another 7, Rayour now decides that Soren is more scary than Luki, and blocks him on the 6 ore. Which is an interesting decision I think, just because I think it is really tough to tell who is in the lead. Soren makes another block with a knight, and he decides to steal from me, just because he really needs a brick to build more roads and settlements. Rayour in the meantime got the longest road, and he might also be able to sneak the island point and the army, which would be a lot of extra points for him. It might win him the game. 5 is another great roll for Soren though, and he can buy more death cards to contest largest army from Rayour. I also think he has a very good chance to steal it at some point of this game. Rayour only has a 11 ore, and also does not have much production going for him, which means he will fall behind the longer the game will last. Luki gets a lucky 11, which gives him a lot of wood and brick combo, which allows him to settle immediately on the 10-11. Soren unfortunately 7s out, but at least he can steal another card from Luki. Soren now also tries to get towards the island on the bottom. For the moment, the pirate does block his path though, which is pretty good for us. With a 6 being rolled, I think it is probably one of the first 6s where none of those were blocked. With 6 and 9, there are a lot of wheat and ores in the game again, and Luki also decides to go for more death cards again, which is really interesting considering that the army is already pretty contested. In the meantime, I can't really do much with my cards unfortunately. I can only settle on the 4. I wanted to go for the 4 sheep of course to block Soren from settling there, but unfortunately I wasn't able to get the trade through. Rayour makes a big move by placing down a settlement on the 8 wheat, which is pretty huge for him and puts him in the point lead. He still got a very bad production though, and also I think the settlement on the 3 was a bit of a problem, considering that we rolled super many 2s in this game already. With Soren buying more death cards, he also is about to lose army. I am also of course trying to get the longest road for now, just because I think it is a win condition for me. I also need to be very careful about Luki, because if we roll some 11s, he really can place a lot of roads down and sneak the longest road very fast. Soren plays his 3rd knight, which puts him on 9 ports with 2 hidden death cards, which looks really scary and pretty close to game. That's also one more reason to try to get the longest road now. It is the reason why I connect the ships instead of settling on the 3 brick. On Rayour's turn, we had to figure something out, because we really needed him to settle on the 4 sheep, because otherwise it would have probably been game for Soren, with 2 ships and a settlement. So we did some crazy deals and tried to get him on the spot, which also worked pretty well. With Rayour building on the 4 sheep, it is basically impossible for Soren to place down on the other island. Luki got really lucky with this death card and got a monopoly. He monopolied 8 ore out of our hands. This allowed him to buy another death card and city up to 410. With Soren rolling an 11 and playing a road building, it is pretty obvious what he is going for. He's trying to chase the longest road. But as I said before, with an 11 being rolled, Luki now also has a great chance for going for longest road, just because he gets 3 roads with every 11 we roll. Luki is making progress on that, by placing down very many roads and also playing a road building. That means for me, well, I need to build roads, which really doesn't do anything for me considering I am really not getting that much production. Soren's ship, which was originally placed down towards the 4 sheep, comes handy now, because he can use it for his longest road. Also, with a year of plenty, he can manage to build enough roads to steal it from the moment for me. But it is still not game. He's probably at 12 points while we play up to 13. I unfortunately 7 out though, which of course doesn't help me at all. I think in this situation it is pretty tough for me to decide who is the block, just because I don't really think that I have a chance at this game. I decided to block the 11 brick therefore, to make it a very big compromise. Also, the 11 is probably a win for Luki, therefore I really think it should be blocked. It also doesn't really matter because Luki of course has a knight card in his hand and blocks his opponent Soren. Surprisingly, Soren also has another knight, which means he's only at 11 points. I get really unlucky in this game and 7 out again, which really costs me a lot of cards. I don't think it matters that much at this point of the game, but it is still really frustrating. As I have to place down the rubber again, I make the same compromise again as I did before. With blocking the 11, I secure that Luki won't win with a single 11 roll, while also Soren is harmed a little bit. With the combination of a 9 being rolled and a 4, however, Luki can manage to place down enough roads to win the game with the longest road and 2 VP cards in his hand. Here, well, that was a pretty close game between those two. However, I didn't really have any chance at this game, just because I think the 6 blocks were pretty unfortunate for me, and also having no wheat was really not an advantage in this game. I really want to congratulate Luki, who was doing really well in this game, and also I want to say thank you for rayour and Soren, who really made this an interesting game. I really think this was a King of Catan Nations Cup which really was interesting to play and was interesting to watch. I also hope you enjoyed watching this little video, and I hope I see you in the next one. Have a shining day, and see ya!